5 minutes ago, Princess Anne broke her silence, and what she revealed about Queen Camilla's crown shocked royal insiders. After years of tension, royal watchers never expected this. Her words were clear, powerful, and completely unexpected. This changes everything we thought we knew about their relationship. Here's what happened. The royal history: why Anne and Camilla's relationship was always complicated. From the very start, the bond between Princess Anne, Camilla, and the crown was shaped by a tangled past that few people truly understood. Back in the early 1970s, both women moved in the same social circles, sharing horses, races, country events, and the same tight-knit aristocratic crowd. But everything shifted the moment Andrew Parker Bowles entered the picture, the man Anne was romantically involved with for several years, long before he eventually married Camilla. One insider once called it a royal love rectangle, quiet, complicated tangle that created tension long before Camilla ever became a central royal figure. That history didn't disappear when Camilla stepped deeper into royal life. According to past reports, Anne kept a cool distance, and there were even claims she didn't plan to honor or curtsy to Camilla if she ever rose higher in rank. And while no one spoke openly about it, everyone inside the palace knew the air between them held a mix of old feelings, misunderstandings, and unspoken history. As one royal commentator put it, they weren't enemies, but they weren't easy with each other either. So when Camilla's role grew during the Charles era, the past didn't fade. It sat quietly, shaping the tone of their interactions. Suspicion, formality, and the weight of old stories hung between them. And that's exactly why what happened next became so surprising, because this complicated foundation set the stage for a shift no one expected. And it was during those shared royal duties, standing side by side under the public eye, that everything slowly began to change, bringing us into the moment where professionalism met personal history. The moment of change, when professionalism met personal history. The real shift between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla didn't happen overnight. It was slow, subtle, and shaped by duty. Over time, the two women found themselves appearing at more and more royal events together, from public engagements to family ceremonies. Being forced into the same rooms, same carriages, and same photo frames made avoidance impossible. What began as silent tolerance eventually turned into something more: a quiet, mutual understanding. As Camilla's role became more official, especially after Queen Elizabeth's passing in 2022, Anne had a choice: hold on to the past or acknowledge the new royal order. And to the surprise of many, she chose grace over grudges. Reports from that period show Anne began to publicly recognize Camilla's efforts. She didn't make grand speeches or dramatic gestures, but observers noticed the change. A warmer look, a small nod, a shared smile. Royal commentators called it respect through action. As Marie Claire described, the tension between Anne and Camilla has softened, replaced with something measured. Not friendship, but respect. It wasn't a full emotional bond, but it didn't need to be. In the royal world, body language often speaks louder than words. Behind the scenes, both women accepted a simple truth: their roles were bigger than their past. Anne, known for her no-nonsense attitude, likely understood that loyalty to the crown sometimes means putting aside personal history. And Camilla, rising through controversy and years of public judgment, welcomed even the smallest gestures of goodwill from her most respected peer. This wasn't about forgetting what happened in the past, but choosing to move forward anyway. One palace aide was quoted saying, Princess Anne will never pretend things didn't happen, but she's also not the type to let old drama get in the way of duty. And with that, the energy between them started to shift. Polite distance became measured cooperation. Cold glances turned into short conversations, and the royal family, often criticized for its emotional coldness, quietly witnessed the beginning of an unexpected truce. But if there was one moment that truly revealed how far they'd come, it wasn't behind closed doors. It was on a public stage, in front of flashing cameras and the world's eyes. At the public show, University of London event that spoke volumes. On November 20th, 2024, something happened that no royal watcher could ignore. At a formal ceremony held by the University of London, where Princess Anne serves as Chancellor, she presented Queen Camilla with an honorary doctorate, not just for her position, but for her decades of work in literacy, charity, and public service. On the surface, it looked like any royal event. But for those paying attention, this moment spoke louder than any headline. Right at the entrance, Camilla tried to let Anne walk in first, a polite gesture, possibly a sign of deference or even friendship. But Anne, sticking firmly to royal protocol, refused. She insisted Camilla, as queen, go first. It wasn't just manners, it was a clear public acknowledgement of Camilla's rank and status. And coming from Anne, who for years had kept her distance, it carried real weight. People magazine described the scene as a masterclass in royal symbolism. The small exchange, brief, unscripted, but incredibly meaningful, made headlines around the world. Royal insiders noted that Anne's decision wasn't just about titles. It was about respect. It was a sign that she now fully accepted Camilla's position at the top of the royal order. As the ceremony continued, the two women were photographed smiling, standing side by side, exchanging polite words and formal gestures. The handing over of the diploma, their shared laughter, and even the way they stood, no tension, no awkward glances, all pointed to a new chapter. For those who remembered the rumors, the history, and the early frostiness between them, this moment felt like a message. Things have changed. As one royal commentator put it, this wasn't a truce behind the scenes, this was a public declaration of respect. And to many royal watchers, especially those still unsure of Camilla's place, Anne's gesture became the seal of approval they didn't know they were waiting for. But the real confirmation came not just from actions, it came from Anne's own words, a rare moment of honesty that caught everyone by surprise. Anne's words, a rare admission of support. What truly stunned royal watchers wasn't a gesture or a glance. It was Princess Anne's own words, spoken publicly and without hesitation. In a rare moment of open praise, Anne described Queen Camilla as incredibly generous and understanding, a line that immediately sent shockwaves through the royal commentary world. Coming from Anne, the most straightforward, no-nonsense member of the family, the woman who never sugarcoats anything, this wasn't casual politeness. This was intentional. Anne went even further, saying that Camilla's commitment to her role, especially her support for King Charles, makes a real difference. And that phrase mattered. For years, critics questioned whether Camilla truly belonged in the heart of the monarchy. But Anne, the ultimate symbol of duty and tradition, was now publicly validating her. As one commentator noted, Anne doesn't hand out compliments unless she means them. She also addressed what many had whispered for years, that Camilla's presence had reshaped the rhythm of the monarchy. Anne acknowledged that people often say Camilla is making a meaningful impact, and then added, "I believe that wholeheartedly." Those final 3 words acted like a stamp of approval. In the royal world, where praise is rare and every sentence is analyzed, they carried enormous weight. The power of this moment wasn't in dramatic speeches or emotional storytelling. It was the simplicity. Anne, who had once kept her distance, who reportedly questioned Camilla's role, who built her life on quiet duty, was now recognizing her sister-in-law not as a controversial figure, but as an essential part of the crown's future. It quietly rewrote the narrative the public had carried for decades. The icy rivalry melted. The unspoken tension softened. The long history of awkwardness now overshadowed by respect. As one insider put it, Anne doesn't forget the past. She just knows when it's time to move on. This moment didn't just mark acceptance, it marked evolution, setting the stage for a deeper shift in how the monarchy presents itself moving forward. And to understand how powerful Anne's endorsement truly was, we have to look at the part of the story she never hid, the early resistance that once defined their relationship. Public backlash and taxpayer questions. The pressure mounts. In mid-2025, during a walkabout event in the north of England, King Charles III was publicly confronted by a member of the crowd who shouted, "Why does your family cost us £500 million a year?" The moment was caught on video and spread across social media within hours. It wasn't just an awkward scene, it revealed the growing public anger over royal spending, and Queen Camilla was right at the center of it. The backlash didn't come from nowhere. Anti-monarchy campaign groups like Republic had been circulating reports for months, arguing that the true annual cost of the royal family is far higher than the official figures, and that much of it is hidden behind broad budget categories like the sovereign grant. Their message? We don't know where the money goes, and that's the real scandal. What frustrated the public most was the lack of itemized breakdowns. While millions were being spent, there was no clear way to see what portion was going toward Camilla's security, wardrobe, travel, personal staff, or her ongoing use of royal properties. The line between private luxury and public duty had become dangerously blurred. One former civil servant told the press, "If any other public institution submitted a budget like this, with no details and no oversight, it would be torn apart in seconds." But because it's the royal household, there's a culture of secrecy, and that's exactly what critics want to end. With pressure mounting from both Parliament and the public, the royal financial structure is now being heavily scrutinized. Camilla's past and present financial benefits are under the microscope. People aren't just asking how much she costs, they're asking why no one seems to know. The conversation has moved beyond tradition and ceremony. In 2025, amid a cost-of-living crisis, royal spending has become a national issue. And Camilla, intentionally or not, has become a symbol of privilege without transparency, a symbol that many believe must now be confronted. The evolution, from frostiness to sympathetic understanding. The transformation between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla wasn't dramatic. It was gradual, careful, and deeply personal. Over the past few years, as Camilla truly stepped into her royal role, something shifted. The woman who once stood on the edges of royal life became the queen, and not just in title, but in presence, consistency, and dedication. Observers noted that as Camilla continued to show up, at events, alongside King Charles, supporting royal duties without complaint, Anne's attitude began to change. It wasn't sudden warmth, but a softening. A quiet respect formed, not based on emotions or friendship, but on duty, the one value both women hold above all else. Starts at 60 described the shift best. Camilla proved she was reliable, and reliability, to Anne, is everything. That says it all. Over time, Camilla stopped being a figure from the past. She became a working royal, a partner to the king, and someone who, like Anne, put service before personal comfort. Royal watchers have pointed out that both women actually have more in common than people realize. They're both private, hardworking, and uninterested in media games. And that common ground, though once hidden by history, is what slowly brought them together. Their public appearances began to reflect that change. At the University of London event, at garden parties, and at national ceremonies, their body language softened. Their interactions became smoother. The ice, built over decades, started to melt. But perhaps the most telling shift came from Anne herself. Her public comments, her refusal to break protocol in Camilla's presence, and her composed support weren't just symbolic. They were earned. As one royal insider said, "If Anne is standing beside you, it means you've done something right." This evolution didn't erase the past, but it built a bridge over it. A bridge made of mutual respect, shared responsibility, and quiet understanding. And that bridge doesn't just connect two women. It sends a signal far beyond the palace walls, touching the very heart of what the crown represents today. What this means for the crown: redefining royal family dynamics. The quiet reconciliation between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla may seem personal, but in the royal world, nothing happens in isolation. Their shift from distant civility to mutual respect reflects something much bigger, a new era in the monarchy where private healing meets public duty. For years, royal watchers clung to the idea of Anne as the one who would never accept Camilla. And yet, that old narrative has now been replaced with something entirely different. As Anne shows public support, she sends a powerful message. Personal history no longer overshadows royal responsibility. It's a signal to the public and to the royal family itself that moving forward is not only possible, it's necessary. The impact is already visible. Seeing Anne stand beside Camilla, not just physically but emotionally, helps legitimize Camilla's place as queen in the eyes of skeptics. It makes her presence feel earned rather than imposed. And from a public image perspective, that kind of validation from Anne carries far more weight than any PR statement. It also changes how future generations will view their relationship. Once painted as rivals, they're now being seen as professional allies, women who found common ground despite everything. A historian recently remarked, "The story of Anne and Camilla is becoming a case study in royal survival, not through power, but through quiet endurance." Behind palace walls, this evolution could have a ripple effect. It shows that unity can be built, even on the ruins of resentment. It sets an example for other royal relationships, especially those still strained by the past. And perhaps most importantly, it proves that the royal family, so often criticized for being stuck in tradition, can adapt when the moment demands it. As one royal commentator put it, "If Anne is choosing diplomacy over division, then something fundamental is shifting in the crown itself." But even as this public alliance grows stronger, some stories and scars from the past refuse to disappear quietly. The hidden secrets, what the past still whispers. Even as Princess Anne and Queen Camilla move forward publicly, there are parts of their shared history that never truly fade. Behind the formal smiles and coordinated appearances, there's a lingering truth, one that royal insiders and longtime watchers can't forget. Their story is marked by a past full of private tension, romantic entanglements, and unspoken emotions. Back in the early 1970s, both women were connected to Andrew Parker Bowles, Anne's former flame, who would later become Camilla's husband. It wasn't just a love triangle, it was something messier. Some referred to it as a royal love rectangle, involving not only Camilla, Andrew, and Anne, but also Charles. These overlapping bonds created an emotional knot that quietly affected the relationships inside the palace for years. According to New Idea, there were periods where Camilla reportedly felt intimidated by Anne, not because of status, but because of Anne's sharp, unapologetic nature. Anne was direct, respected, and not easily impressed. For someone like Camilla, navigating that kind of presence, especially with personal history involved, couldn't have been easy. Even now, there are whispers that old feelings may still linger. Not openly, not in any spoken way, but in subtle looks and long silences. Some say there was jealousy, others say grief, maybe even regret. But what's clear is that those early chapters still shape how both women move around each other, with care, with calculation, and always with memory. Still, what's most fascinating is their choice. Neither woman has ever publicly spoken about the past. No interviews, no memoir revelations. That silence is a strategy, one that may have saved both of them from deeper public scrutiny. As one royal staffer noted, "In a world full of gossip, sometimes silence is the only defense." So, while the cameras now capture mutual respect, those old stories, hidden just beneath the surface, remain part of their legacy. Not erased, just buried. And yet, it was a single moment, quiet, formal, but deeply symbolic, that truly marked the turning point in their story. The turning tide, what recent actions prove about Camilla's crown and Anne's acceptance. The clearest sign that Princess Anne had finally turned the page came not in a press release, but in a series of quiet, powerful gestures. One of the most telling was during the University of London event in November 2024, when Queen Camilla tried to let Anne go ahead of her out of courtesy. But Anne firmly insisted Camilla take her place first. It wasn't just about tradition. It was about recognizing Camilla's authority as queen in front of the cameras, the public, and the crown itself. That moment spoke volumes. As People.com put it, Anne upheld protocol not out of formality, but out of respect. From a woman who had once been openly reluctant to accept Camilla's role, this was more than a polite act. It was a symbolic surrender to royal order. And that wasn't the only sign. Anne's recent public compliments, calling Camilla generous and understanding, were broadcast across major outlets. It wasn't a palace-approved quote buried in a royal report. These were her own words, and they landed with impact. Even more importantly, these actions came together. A string of formal gestures, personal compliments, and protocol acknowledgments, each building toward the same conclusion. Camilla now wears the crown with Anne's approval. And in the world of royalty, Anne's approval is not handed out lightly. As royal expert Angela Levine commented, "When Princess Anne makes a decision, it sticks. If she respects Camilla now, the rest of the family will take note." For years, the narrative was one of silent disapproval. But now, the shift is undeniable. The cold shoulders, the stiff body language, the subtle avoidance, it's being replaced by steady, visible respect. And while no one expects them to become best friends, one thing is certain. Anne's actions have legitimized Camilla's crown more than any royal decree could. But what does this mean for the monarchy's future, and for how we see both women moving forward in the public eye? That answer may reveal a new chapter none of us expected. What it all means for the future. Could this be a new royal era? The quiet shift between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla may seem personal, but its impact reaches far beyond the two women. It signals the start of something much larger, a new phase for the royal family, built not on old grudges, but on cooperation, maturity, and mutual respect. If this transformation holds, it could bring a stronger, more united front to the monarchy. Public events, family appearances, even state engagements may now flow more smoothly, without the subtle tension that once clouded the air. A royal insider recently said, "With Anne on board, the temperature inside the palace has cooled. The Queen can breathe easier now." For Camilla, this acceptance cements her role. She is no longer just the controversial consort, she is a queen with the endorsement of the crown's most trusted figure. And for Anne, it marks a new chapter in her legacy, not just as the hard-working royal, but as the one who chose unity over pride when it mattered most. It also has the power to change public opinion. For many, Anne represents strength, tradition, and duty. Her approval of Camilla may encourage royal fans who were still hesitant, especially those still loyal to Princess Diana's memory, to soften their stance. When Anne shows grace, others tend to follow. And perhaps, above all, this moment proves one thing: forgiveness and growth are possible, even within the walls of Buckingham Palace. In a family where history runs deep and emotions run quiet, that is a powerful message. As royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams put it, what we're seeing isn't just personal growth, it's institutional evolution. The monarchy may never be the same, and in this rare case, that might be a good thing. The grudges of the past are giving way to a calmer, wiser version of royalty, one where duty doesn't have to drown out humanity. And with Anne and Camilla quietly standing side by side, a new royal chapter begins, not with fireworks, but with respect. Anne's truth is out, and it's reshaping the crown's future. The question now is, what happens next inside the palace?